Hello and welcome to Husky Talk. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, my charismatic enigma of a co-host, Mr. Laban Marsh. Laban, hello.
Good to see you, Steve.
And with him, his lovely, beautiful wife, Mrs. Megan Marsh. Megan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You have the best podcast setup. I just want you to know. I am so jealous. I love it all.
Well, thank you. We had a podcast. It's still on pause for business reasons, but my business partner and I have a podcast that
Yeah.
it's fun. I enjoy doing this. It's fun to talk to people. So I love that you guys are doing this.
Do you do more of a I'm sorry, is it real estate? Is it what business is it segued around?
Yep,
Or
it's around real estate, the whole real estate industry, businesses, and
the
starting and running
process?
businesses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a huge need for that. And
Mhm.
Laban, if you check out your LinkedIn, I created the ad for us, um,
Nice.
which is awesome. I use 6 pictures and then I put 6 different links. So
Okay.
I put links to the podcast, and then I put links to your website, and then I put links directly to you.
That's great.
So
That's
they work, and I targeted Erie County, so it'll be
Oh,
perfect.
microphone.
yeah, and I don't know if Meg knows that you run a network of podcasts. So this is what you do full time. This is your
Oh, I
job
did
too.
not know that.
Well, I technically work for a podcast network out in California. It's called the Golden State Podcast Network.
Okay.
It's not the best network, so we're not.
Are we,
I'm,
are
I'm
we on
just
air?
I
I'm
hope
just
they are listening.
Well, he knows. I mean, he overcharges, and it's tough to sell. So I had wanted to start my own podcast network, and because I now have a variety of shows, that's what I'm starting to do. And I've gotten some calls about sponsorship and advertising, and we can do all that, and we can do the same thing where you target certain areas. So if you're in Connecticut and Matt Newsy, who does real estate, um, if you're in Connecticut, Matt Newsy's ad for
Your license?
Newsy Real Estate Remax will come up. That's how it works. It's
Yeah, I was
by
gonna say
area.
because I was gonna say, what does a network do for you? Because like when we did ours, we just recorded it and then we would
Yep.
upload it to Apple Podcasts and
Mhm.
the different platforms.
Spotify, all the same thing. Yeah. So just if you have your own network, it's all based on listenership. So once you reach a certain amount of listeners, then you can really target advertising.
Got it.
And podcasting is a lot better. Right now, it's the fastest growing industry.
It is.
Yeah, and the reason is because it's national. Like you don't
Yeah.
radio's more regional. Podcasting you can listen to nationally, and you can technically do what's called geofencing in the radio
Mhm.
world, where you can target a certain area, you can target demographics. And so, like when they're on their LinkedIn feed or when they're on their phone in that area, your podcast will come up.
So
So,
one of the things that I don't know if because it looks like you're right creating your own network, but an area that you could add into the mix. I'm very business minded. You'll learn,
please help me because I'm not.
which we could do after this is uh, I'll share with you a podcast and people now in like PR. So there's a woman that I worked with, and she will put together for podcast pitching. So there's people who don't necessarily want to, like, that's where I'm at. Do I start my episodes back up? I need to get on other podcasts because that's a way that I can grow the businesses that we're doing. And so targeting and getting on podcasts. So what she does is she helps you create your material that you would send to other podcasts. And as she's done this, and there's
Yeah.
not many people doing this. And then she comes up with a list and she helps pitch you and do the follow-up and helps you get on so many podcasts.
Helps get you booked. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's really good. That's
I
a
don't know if
really
that's
good
something
way
you
to
would
spread the
be
word.
interested in.
And,
No, I've done them. I love going on podcasts.
and Steve, how, because I know you have great content, and each time I open Facebook and you have somebody else on, it's even more
Yeah.
exciting. So how do you generate your list as you grow it? From
Laban,
word of mouth?
honestly, everyone's been reaching out to me,
It's organic.
That's great.
and loving it, and it's been suggested to me to do my own network because I have so many shows now, because I do technically like 6 original shows, with
Yeah.
this, I have my podcast. I just started a new podcast with, God bless me, Tyler King, which is MMA. We're going to do some MMA, which is new. I do the podcast with Maria, and then I do Money Line, which is the radio show in Worcester, and WooCast, which is about the Worcester Red Sox. And then I turn them into podcasts. So when you have that much content and you have a certain amount of listenership, you can advertise. Like I have sponsors for the Worcester stuff, Darby being one of them,
There you go.
and I haven't gone, and Erica Higgins just helped put together a proposal for me. So now I have a proposal that I can send to people for different options for what they want. I broke down the demographics, female, male, age group, and then pricing. Like if you want to be on one show, if you want to be on 2 shows, or if you want to be on all the shows. So I kind of did it like that. And I think that's the best way to do it. Like even for your show, like if we had anyone interested in Broker Than You, once we build up enough listenership, we would be able to charge. I mean, I'm charging minimally, but like I explained this before, like for a good radio campaign, depending on your location, you really have to spend like $1,000 a week, between 800 and $1,000 a week. And that's just a lot. And, I can charge 800 a month and it's fine. And that's a lot easier. So that's what I'm going to try to do. That's my goal eventually. So I can get rid of the GMC podcast and do my own, because I do my own anyway. And their podcasts it's not the best network. I don't think, if you ever go to the website and watch their shows, they're not as fun. So,
well, nobody's as fun as you, Steve.
That's true.
You.
You got to be entertaining. You got to have the banter. So, I agree with Laban.
Banter away.
It is. It's banter. It's all banter.
I love it.
If you're not entertaining and if you have no banter, no one's going to listen to you. Megan, are you from Pennsylvania originally?
No, I am from upstate New York, the
You're
capital
by
of
me.
Albany.
Oh, that's why he told me that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. That's why you're going to come up here.
We're going to come up to Old Forge one of these times.
Yes, you're going to come to camp. Okay.
Yeah.
So you, what schools you go to?
High school.
High school?
Yeah.
Shaker High School?
You're a Shaker person.
A
So you
bison?
know Rich Barletti?
Yeah, I
No?
was going to say I'm horrible with names.
Rich Barletti was my age. He was a football player. He went. He was pretty big time. I think he went to Union. I think he played at Union. That's why I asked. His mother was a county legislator in Shaker too. That's why I asked. But no, I love Albany. I worked in Albany. I worked for Albany Broadcasting. I worked for Town Square. So
no, it's a great area.
I played for the Firebirds, the arena team. Love it. So
no, if we didn't move to Erie, I told Laban he had 5 years to convince me to stay here.
And you made it. He just
we made it. Erie sold itself. Erie sold itself.
It does.
Well, honestly,
stipulations.
There were some stipulations, but honestly, we were positioned quite well for the gig that we were in. And she started accounting but it was our family's need for a really good loan officer that shifted her. And thankfully she had that foundation from
Right.
UConn, in business and accounting, for her to get into mortgage and be able to deliver so much more knowledge and information to clients because of her understanding of accounting and finance, especially as business owners owning real estate, as many of us do. It can be tricky in the loan process.
To
And I already know
navigate.
when she's looking at me to just be quiet.
No,
So
I'm not. I
let her
promise
take
I'll
off.
poke you.
Okay.
No, I know, I know, because my father does primarily real estate closings. He's an attorney, so
Yeah.
I,
So he
I
deals
know.
with all the lenders who
Oh
they're
my
sending
God.
documents to him. Yep.
He obviously won't tell me anything, but I know other people involved in a commercial property that they're trying to sell, and it's been 2 years, and
Oh,
it's just been a nightmare because there's like 5 people in this family, and they go back and forth. They wanted $1 million, but there was so much work that needed to be done that nobody wanted to pay it, and I think they had someone for like 940, and it was just about to get done, and then the one of the siblings poo-pooed it, and my dad won't. My dad doesn't tell me anything about it. It's through another friend who is dealing with them as well, and he's
In
like,
New
I don't know
York
how.
State.
Yeah, it's in New York State.
New
He's like,
York's a really tough state too to do business in.
I don't know how your dad does it. So
yeah, it
um,
is holding a lot. It's the glue. You have to be the glue, honestly. And there's so much coordination and networking.
yeah,
And even if you don't like a particular vendor or professional, a lot of times you just have to suck it up and deal with them. And what the clients don't understand when they want you to really stand up for them, it's like, well, I have to continue to work with these people going forward. This is just the transaction for you. So professionally in that circle, we really respect the jobs that they all do, because we all have to
yeah,
coordinate, and it's
it's
a
a
huge
team.
asset. I mean, it is team, like
Yeah,
sports provides that ability. Even if you're not really too fond of somebody, if they're lining up next to you, you got to be able
yeah.
to have that same goal, to get it through the finish line, or nobody gets paid, if you
It's
will.
funny you say that because, like, today I brought it up, and I'm not supposed to, but I said, Dad, why are you still dealing with these people? I said, it's been 2 years. They keep screwing it. They keep bringing you to the table. And it's like, I don't think they want to sell the thing. I mean, they always find something wrong, and you've done paperwork after paperwork. And he's like, I was like, why are you? I said, just move on. And he's like, Steven, I can't talk about my clients, and stop
Yeah.
asking.
The attorneys are very good about that
Yes.
confidentiality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
dad,
important.
that is. But
Sorry.
Megan, did you initially play sports at Shaker, or did you play earlier? Because I didn't know if there were any leagues earlier.
I mean, I played sports. I was
Yeah.
athletic when I was young. So my dad is in Virginia Tech's Hall of Fame, Athletic
Mhm.
Hall of Fame, and his father's in Lehigh's Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
Right. He told me that.
Yep.
That's impressive.
So yeah, I from when I was little, there were pictures on the wall of the two of them, and I understood that my dad went to school on a full athletic scholarship. So that became my goal, I would say. Once I was, I don't know, middle school to freshman year, like I knew I wanted to get
Wow.
a full athletic scholarship, not realizing that was a really difficult feat.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. It's just what I wanted. And I got into field hockey, the sport that I went to UConn and was on a scholarship for.
Right.
And I think it was in 7th or 8th grade, I luckily got connected with a mentor who saw my athletic ability and really channeled it. And, had a very successful high school. I made the All-American team. I was one of
I
18
saw.
in yeah. So like I had a very successful athletic career in high school, and then, went to UConn and did great. And, I knew,
Laban, she's skipping all my questions.
Well, one of the things that I didn't know until we were listening to Nikki's podcast with you, we talked about the recruiting trips.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I only took one. I went to UConn.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
I visited Kentucky unofficially during the football season, and then I committed to UConn as soon as they offered me at stores. I think I came home to talk to my parents. But when we heard about Nick O and not being able to go to her UMass trip, Meg's like, "Oh, I'm familiar." So go ahead
I only
as
took
she
3
recruited
of my
you.
5.
Did you start on varsity as a freshman, or did you play JV and end
In
up
high
playing
school?
varsity? Yeah.
Yeah, so I call her Flu, my mentor. So she had me start playing in 7th and 8th grade, and she had me playing. She brought me up to the freshman team when I was in 7th or 8th grade.
Oh wow.
And then so when I was a freshman in high school, I was the first freshman she brought up to varsity.
So that's huge. And Shaker's a
big
double A
school.
school. That's like the biggest, one of the
Yep.
the biggest, the highest level in New York State.
Mhm.
What position did you play?
I've always been in the middle, but I want to say I was center mid, center forward, center mid. And then at UConn, I was center back and center mid.
Do the centers, are they the ones that take faceoffs or no?
So center mid, you're kind of like, I guess you could call it the quarterback. Like you're not the high scorer because you play defense, offense. What I was really brought in to do at UConn when we had our 2 really strong years, when we went to 2 NCAA Final Fours.
Correct.
I was strong defensively. I was always very aggressive and could mark anyone and shut them down. And so I typically would get, they would tell me who I had to shut down in the game. And one year it was an Argentinian 25-year-old who was on ODU's team, was taking chip shots at my knees. But yeah, defensively, because I was fast, I could really shut down any offensive player, was what she brought me in for.
But and I don't mean to cut you off, Steve, but one of the only things when she mentions ODU, she wanted to have a natural birth with our first Mackenzie who you met. And she said the key word, if she wanted epidural, it would be ODU, Old Dominion. ODU, that made her so angry that she would not cave if she knew that ODU was the opponent or the epidural.
I got you.
Yeah, that was,
God bless you.
That was wild.
Well, yeah, I mean, gosh, when you play sports, so many of those, you don't even realize it until you start hitting difficult stuff in life, but your athletics, and if you've had a positive experience, so many of those lessons help you now
get through challenges. Yeah. Knowing you've overcome so much that was something that is a key to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But that was something where, that cracked me up when that was 16 years ago. Hey, if I happen to say ODU, then I'm really in pain.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think sports, at least for women, I'll say this, I think sports is a blessing and a curse when you get out into the real world, because as a woman and having the ability with Title IX and all that, like having the ability to really go after anything you want and being supported in that is a phenomenal thing. That's not the reality always out in the business world. I'm just being honest for women. I had a rude awakening in the business world of, not having team members, not having people on a team, people not wanting me to do well, being intimidated. And it was like, what is this? This is crazy.
Well, isn't overall the pay differential between men and women pretty significant in this country?
Yeah, well, it is. Men are paid definitely more. I for a while, I kind of looked at that, and I think it was why eventually it really took him kicking me off the cliff. But athletes
of comfort.
What's that? The comfort
of comfort. Yeah, that security. So many women want comfort in their finances and stability.
Oh, I know.
And in real estate and in loans, it's commission based. And we know we both work hard, but you also know markets can be tricky, as we're starting to see right now, and
Yeah.
I've seen in the last 2 years. So.
Exactly. And then that's what I ended up having to do. The only way that I was going to be satisfied in work was by being in a position where nobody paid me anything. I got paid what I worked and earned
You eat
and
what you
created.
kill. Yep.
And I was terrified of it. I didn't want to do it. He literally, it's so embarrassing now. I say when people ask me, I left accounting, took a job in mortgage, had no idea what the heck it was, and took a huge pay cut from accounting.
Yep.
Then the owner wasn't increasing my pay to where I believed it should have been. And I'm watching these loan officers, knowing they get paid more, that Laban ended up coming into the office where I worked because he knew the owner. And he said to the owner, he's like, Megan's going to start originating loans. And I'm sitting there like, okay, Megan's going to start originating loans. And I'm like, when? And because he wanted me to manage. And I'm like, managing safer. I've got a salary. Can I do both? And the owner's like, no, you got to pick one. And Laban's like, what? She's originating and she's going to start doing that in the next 90 days. So you decide how soon. And I'm like, okay. And that kind of was the kick I needed, because literally going from, making 30,000 to making six figures in the matter of 2 to 3 years, because I had hard work and drive, and I never looked back after that.
It was also easier to make that decision as dinks, which dual income, no kids. It's a little less risk.
I've never heard that term.
Yeah,
before.
well, we had a vendor that said, "Oh, you guys are dinks," and I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Dual income, no kids, man, live it up." And then now having 4 kids, and they're not cheap.
No,
they're wonderful. But yeah, so I think taking that leap early on when we were first married, and I support her obviously in any and everything she does. But it was especially challenging because I remember when I first got home and into real estate, my mother's like, you have to do it full time. If you just commit halfway and don't go really full, go at the commission-based business, it's going to be hard to get traction. And Meg's like, hey, wait, she was used to her dad getting up, going to work at 7 a.m. and coming home at 5. And so I think breaking through that mold, but what made it easier is she's always, broken down doors, crushed the glass ceiling. And so she had a belief in herself that, and you saw the footprint of systems where we have 3 selling real estate right now. Now we have about 6 within the family and 40 some agents. So, there is an automatic, system there that you can tap into. And now listen, you still have to do the work. You have to sell yourself. You have to get the job done and be productive. But the opportunity is there. And I think that's where, for both of us, we're now at a stage of life where we want to help those young people like we were 20 years ago getting started, a leg up. Don't recreate the wheel. We're going to show you some of the pitfalls. Take that risk. Like, you might disagree with our approach, have at it, and best of luck to you. But with what we're seeing, and we don't know everything, it's been great for her to be in the mortgage industry, for me to be in the real estate sales side, so that we can see trends and things going on, not only for us, but for our clients especially, and the changing in the market.
It's funny you say that, because the girl that I may or may not be seeing, Kelly, who you spoke with, her father does real estate and was one of the biggest real estate agents in the area. But he had always told her to have a second job. He said, because the real estate market is so cyclical, you can't depend on it. So he works like 3 different jobs and does real estate. Because he didn't want to have to rely on real estate all the time, because like you said, it is commission based. The market is cyclical, and you got to be prepared for that. So I see it both ways.
And I was going to say, and now that's what I do. Now that I stopped originating, I own companies that support financial businesses, but I teach people how to build up multiple income streams, not multiple jobs, but businesses that
revenue streams.
Things that you're tied into, because then when you have those cyclical times, you've got the other income streams that you can lean on.
It's a lot like multi-events in track and field or multi-sports, because again, you might be really good at something, But if for whatever reason now your competition has really elevated itself and you're just average, there, you know what to work on, but you also have other things to lean on. And as challenging as it is, I think the most important thing to running a business, running a family, having systems in place.
Really? You like
Yeah, no, for
Systems are
sure.
huge. And in order to delegate, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? And then start to delegate. And a lot of that, people get into the financial side and worry about the expense of it.
Yes.
But it's very easy to think of just the expense, but you're not looking at the benefit. Like that's taking time off of your plate that you can now
Exactly.
divert it and make more money at what you really do well, and what you enjoy, so that now you can do it more often and it doesn't feel like work, but the revenue is there. Yeah, of course I love systems.
Well, as
We have a
Laban,
lot
as
of
you
systems.
said, there's only 24 hours in a day. So
Amen. And I like 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah,
I get
He does like his
ornery.
sleep.
I get ornery without proper sleep.
Megan, so it was a different time back then with recruiting. Where were you getting recruited by? And was it the same system where, like my father got a machine so he could dub the VHS tapes of games and ship them out to everyone? Is that kind of what you did? Or Shaker was a big enough school and a good enough program where I'm sure you had college coaches coming in and out to see you, but
We're talking about field hockey here. Steve.
I know.
Like,
I'm
people
sorry.
aren't
You're right.
rushing to field hockey
You're
games.
right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
So how I ended up getting recruited was that I was encouraged to do, I guess, for anyone who listens to this, like most people know basketball, you play AAU, right? Is that even still a thing, right?
That's still a
Yeah,
thing.
huge.
So in field hockey, your AAU is called Futures. Futures is the off-season program, and it's actually Futures is what goes to Olympic tryouts. So that was what I did. Was I started doing Futures and ended up making all the teams where coaches would go for recruiting, and made what's called B camp and A camp, which B camp and A camp was they picked the Olympic team from A camp. So that whole program is where I got seen. My mom and dad would take videos, and my mom's very organized, and I think she did definitely send them out. And, I had my idea of the schools I wanted to go to. But I wanted a full scholarship. And so the schools that I took, I remember the schools I took visits to, and I will tell a quick little funny story about this. My mom was like, listen, you've got all these people calling you. You need to make a list of your top schools.
You were getting recruited pretty heavily.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like,
I'm wondering if this is the same story I'm thinking. I can't believe you're actually going to tell it.
Yeah, I know. See, I at least can make fun
humility.
Of myself.
Laban, it'll increase our listenership. That's fine.
You wait. And
I'm still questioning how I spell it.
Go ahead.
So my mom was like, I was getting all these calls. I mean, it was crazy. Like when that date comes that they're allowed to call you on the phone.
Yes. Yep.
And so, I had all the top schools calling, and she's like, you're going to have to decide like 5. You only get 5 visits. So let's start with a list of 10. And so I made my list, and all I saw was sports. Like I did well in school. I've always been a good student, but I wasn't the sharpest. I wasn't like a straight A student.
You weren't taking AP classes at Shaker.
No, but I was doing well. So I made my list, and I remember coming downstairs when we were having this conversation, and my mom's like, can we talk about your list that you left on the counter? I'm like,
oh boy.
I'm like, sure. What? Let's talk about the list. She's like, I am all right with, University of Virginia. I'm good with this one, that one. She goes, but I think we need to take a couple of them off the list here. She goes, you have Princeton on here, and you spelled it Prinston. She goes, you can't look at a school if you can't spell it.
You know what? Princeton's tough to spell.
Well, let me divert real quick to it. We had recently moved out to our new home 16 years ago, and we were at a neighborhood party. And we're from Western PA, and so there's a school down in Pittsburgh. Well, I'm just saying.
I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, so I'm talking to an attorney friend of mine, and all of a sudden I hear his wife standing over in the distance, and I hear my wife say, "Oh, what's Duquesne?" And I'm like, "Oh my
Duquesne.
goodness, hold on. I'm sorry, my wife's from not this area. She isn't from this area. She doesn't know about Duquesne University, which is a great school in Pittsburgh. So
Yeah.
there's something. What is that?
Something
Phonetically,
in
I don't.
phonetically
Well-
in my brain, but because like
She's brilliant, but spells
brilliant numbers wise,
terribly.
I can literally build businesses, but you have me try to spell.
Oh.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and so it's
Megan-
made your
yeah.
learning Spanish a little difficult too. We've found because she goes to Puerto Rico a lot with her business partner there. She's trying to learn some
Yes,
Spanish.
that's right. That's
It helps
where
to
you
know
were
how to
last week.
spell a little bit.
I
too.
forgot.
So I threw Princeton out the door, and I ended up doing my visits at the University of Virginia, William and
Wow.
Mary,
Bill and
and then
Mary.
I had UConn, and I was supposed to go to Michigan. I remember bought tickets to one of the big Michigan games, and once I went to UConn and committed, Nancy, like Nico said, I had to cancel those other
Yeah, she
trips.
doesn't
She
take
was
no
not
for an
okay with
answer.
me going.
Yeah. Wow. So you went to UConn and you had already visited Virginia and William and Mary?
Yep.
Okay. And both are excellent academically and good at sports. I don't know about their field hockey programs. You go to UConn, you went to a game, right? Was it the official visit? You stayed overnight.
I stayed overnight. Yes,
Okay.
and I knew a couple of the girls because I played with them in futures.
Right. Okay.
So I think the combination of I knew some of them, like Nancy was very clear she wanted to win a national championship, and so that was important to me.
Right.
And
No, that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, and I was fortunate the 2 years we went to 2 Final Fours of the 8 teams that were there, 5 or 6 of them I took official visits to or were getting recruited for. Like I was very fortunate, but UConn by far was the best decision for me.
It was the best decision for all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was just, by doing this show, I have been so surprised to see and hear our alumni base that's doing very, very well, that have all had success, have built incredible careers, have families. Like I never pictured UConn alums, doing so well. And
Well,
Yeah,
rather
we
than-
say
But
that too.
and I we keep referencing Nikki because we listened to that recently. But she says if somebody could figure out the secret sauce, but can I
Yes.
tell you, you know what the secret sauce is? Competitiveness. Like that's
Yes.
what I remember the most. And it was, we played summer league. My brother Lucas went backdoor and dunked on Richard Hamilton with an alley-oop from Wendell McDuffie. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and Rip didn't do anything crazy, but it was just like, yeah, we all compete. I don't care if it's beach volleyball or pickup basketball, but there was something about UConn where we all had confidence because a lot of us, like our sport, football was just climbing up. A lot of us could have gone to some bigger name Big Ten schools, but we wanted, like Meg saying, we wanted to be a part of a championship team. Skip Holtz was there at the time, Nancy, and I think that's the coolest thing now. Like Callie, who is at UConn right now vaulting, was recruited by the coaches that recruited me 25 years ago. There's something to be said about the coaching staff, the administration, that university that creates that competitiveness.
It's core values, I think, is like I always say this when we talked before we came on. I do a talk in my industry called mental warfare, and I did a lot of learning later on after going through difficult things and kind of having to like reflect back from when we played sports and how you got through things.
Right.
And it's your core values because the way you act is based on the core values that are most important to you. And I always compare it to fundamentals in sports. Like you have to know yourself and you have to know the way you want to respond, the way you want to treat people. You have to understand that stuff just like when you're playing a sport. Let's say you're playing basketball, you need to learn the fundamentals so you can pick your head up and actually play and be good in business, right? It's the same thing. You have to know yourself and how you want to be in a situation to be a leader so that when you're in difficult situations, emotionally charged conversations, you hold firm to those core values that I feel like as an athlete, especially a college athlete who has to give up so much time,
You
and
sacrifice. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
sacrifice that. It's like that quality. And gosh, you guys are even making me think about it. Something I don't normally go out and say, I'm looking for college athletes, but even on my team, my business's teams, I have a college swimmer. I have a collegiate swimmer. I have a collegiate diver. I have a guy who won a national championship at Penn State from the football team. I have a guy that was at Penn State on the basketball team. It's just, there's something about college athletes I think it's those core values of how we're raised and what you have to do to make it there, that I think it carries over really well into your career.
Yeah, and Laban said the same thing, that he prefers to hire athletes and he looks for athletes as well, because you can't teach that. I mean, they've been brought up their entire lives with that discipline, with that focus, with that determination, with that perseverance, with that passion, with that desire that not normal people will have.
And I think especially college athletes, because any athlete, right, in high school too. But when you've been a college athlete, Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, that's that perseverance. Like we all know there was a point in college where it's like, dude, everybody else just going to school, the regulars, right? We call them the regular students.
The noners.
It must be so nice. So to persevere through all the challenges that regular students have to go through, and then you've got coaches that are leaning. I think for me, it was always my teammates. Like, I loved a lot of my coaches, but most of what I did for my teammates, not for the coach. That. You know what I mean? Like, there's coaches I would run through a brick wall for, but at the same time, my brothers are the ones that, you know what I mean, you die for. So there is something about that.
Something like I still remember
sacrifice.
Like I remember when I came in at UConn, there were no starting positions for 3 years, and I was like, what the heck? And I was like a very good player. Like, how am I going to do this? And I think I started my sophomore year, and I ended up taking someone's position who is one of my very close friends. I still remember, and when I was 18 years old. I think she was 19 or 20. The way she handled it, the way she treated me, and still was very kind. Like, like, because I see in the workplace jealousy, and I
selfishness
see
and jealousy.
Yes,
absolutely.
And it's like. I didn't realize back then, and I look back now and I'm like, holy crap, this 19-year-old girl
had no resentments towards you.
Had no resentments, treated me just like anybody else. And I remember, I mean, that was awful. That had been so hard.
I know. I had it done to me too. It's Laban and I talked about this a little bit, and I talked about it on another podcast. When you are an athlete and you play that sport for so long, it becomes your identity. It's really how you see yourself. And now, as we get older, our identities consistently change over time. We were football players, we were athletes. Now we're in the real world. Now we're married. Now we have kids. Now we have a family. Now we have a business. So your identity is constantly evolving. And it's great that she treated you well. And, she saw that you were going to make the team better, and she was a true team player and wanted to do what was best for the team. So how did you perform? Would you say you started as a sophomore, junior, senior year? How would you say you performed, and how did the team do?
I mean, I know Nikki talked about it too. I mean, my sophomore year, the year Nikki talked about it, we were undefeated the entire season until Final Four. I mean, we should have won a national championship.
She said that,
that was the worst. I mean,
and you always remember the bad moments first.
No, I mean, and we accomplished some great things, right? And I'm so happy that Nancy has stuck with her goal once again, having somebody that were led by. Watching someone not give up after you should have won, because then they went on to win how many national championships in the last 10 years?
3 more.
Yeah.
At least 2 more, if not 3 more. Yeah.
It's like constantly, like, you keep getting these lessons, and, yeah, I mean, I was a strong player at UConn. Was I the strongest player? I mean, I was young during those years we went. I was very strong defensively. I was not offensively. I definitely made some of the, what is it, the all whatever teams.
All conference,
yeah, all conference.
Yeah,
all
my
ECAC.
what?
which was hard because we lost everyone.
Huge.
So
Yeah.
my senior year was I think we had 12 freshmen or sophomores that came in. Like
you
it
were
was rough.
rebuilding. Yeah.
And what year was it that Nancy stopped practice to tell the team why you were recruited? Remember how you told me that she visited one of your high school games, I think it was?
No, Nancy
So when
would
was
always
that?
say that when I came in,
Well,
which was a
grit and
little
toughness.
uncomfortable at first, but she pretty much said to all the girls, and they've told me since then that before I came on, they're like, I just recruited a girl and I went to her high school and she stepped on a girl's face with her cleats and kept running. And she loved that like athletic grit and toughness.
Toughness, yeah.
You know, and I guess I was lucky that they didn't hold it against me because I was just when I was playing, I was very like tunnel visioned.
Sure.
With what was important to me.
And you also had a ref stop you at one point, I think, and just said, hey, you're a great player, but you got to get yourself under control.
No, I had a ref.
Was it that a ref?
It was a ref that in high school I used to get carded every game. I didn't get carded. I got a yellow card and they told me to stop being, it was a guy and he's like, you need to be a little bit less aggressive. And I looked at him and said, do you say that to the guys that you ref for?
Yeah, you said it on the football field, right?
Yeah.
That's come
crazy.
on.
I now have to segue into how did you and Laban initially meet and get together?
I know. McMahon. How many athletes get married from UConn? Do you have any?
I don't.
Yeah. Well, Nikki married a baseball player from UConn. I know that.
Well, no, he didn't go to UConn though.
He didn't. Okay.
No, I can't remember where he went to school. He didn't go to UConn. So yeah, but I lived in McMahon North with Nick Cannon, and you lived in McMahon South at the time. So we'd see each other in the cafeteria, and a lot of the athletes lived in McMahon at the time.
And we were always there early.
Yeah.
In August before the regulars came in.
Right.
I don't know, but man, even though I went to a big high school.
Hi, Mackenzie.
I got to
he says hi.
When I got to UConn and I started seeing some of the athletes that were there. I mean, I've always been athletic and I have this dad who's 6'6", right? And I get to UConn and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I remember walking in, Jake Voskel. I thought some kid was walking on the cafeteria table. I'm like, oh, that's Jake Voskel. He's 6'11".
But I do remember seeing Laban, and I thought he was very handsome. Although he had these weird things coming across his face, those chops.
Yeah, I was from Western PA, and I
told him that he would not be coming anywhere near me until those things were shaved off.
Yeah.
So they came off.
That's okay.
Okay.
Hey, Laban,
98.
You can't help it that you're good looking.
Hey, that's right.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You got to beat him away with a stick. I understand.
That's right.
So and I just like his family upbringing, and I like that he, there's not many guys that you talk to in college. At the time when we met, he was very straight edge. Remember that in the beginning?
Yep. Yes.
I was not. I wasn't like a party girl, but I was not straight edge.
No.
And so we had our little hiccup in the middle.
Yeah, well, and it started I think their first date. We came back to McMahon to play ping pong, and the date ended early because she did not win a single game. So that was that.
You didn't let her win?
No, never.
I wouldn't want him.
I don't let kids win. I don't. There's something about a competitor that no. I play my 8-year-old son left-handed in ping pong, and he's getting pretty good to where I might have to play him true right-handed. But no, we are a competitive household. I think there's and again, whether it's grades, like the kids just did really well in school. I think I go back. I think competition is really good for people, and in an age of entitlement and trophies to everybody, it's participation trophies. It's like, I want a little more competition. And I've said before, I love coaching the pole vault. or track and field because it's right here on paper. I don't care what your last name
The
is.
numbers. Yep.
It's what is your performance based? It's the way to go. So yeah, competition is good.
Yeah. So we dated. We broke up because he.
Yeah, we broke
my
up.
heart.
Yeah, I was just a young individual that didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So, and at the time, it was easy to ghost somebody. We didn't have cell phones or anything.
Yeah,
So, we went on break, and I just forgot to call her.
We didn't speak for 2 years.
It was a while.
I disliked
2 years.
2 years. Yeah, we both dated other people.
God,
Yeah, we both dated other athletes on campus.
Yep.
And
I was like, I remember seeing him when he went through his phase when he dyed his hair, his tips like blonde or white.
The frosty
and would cut his shirts. I'm like,
it.
Oh, thank God we broke up. Like, ugh.
Was there a defining moment that caused the breakup specifically? Or?
I think me ghosting her.
Yeah, he went home for Christmas.
Nothing
break.
was said. You just went home for Christmas and stopped talking.
Oh no, he just went home.
I didn't know we were going
didn't
there.
Respond to my emails over
That's
Christmas.
amazing.
I hated him. Like I was so angry at him for doing that.
I think, I don't know. Winning her back was that much more challenging for sure. Luckily, we had both matured substantially.
Yeah.
And the timing, it just all worked out.
Yeah.
But
in the first week we got back together. So we took our break. Then my senior year, when we started, that was the age of
instant messenger.
So we started instant messaging.
Yeah.
And
Katie, you use Katie's and that's somebody you need to interview for Husky Talk.
That. We need to get
Katie is
I
doing her thing up north.
I asked Lissa, and Lissa is
she texted me the other day. She's like, no way. She's like,
what do you think I'm gonna do to you?
So Katie was one of my roommates throughout UConn. She was on the crew team, but Katie impressed me so much because she came to UConn, didn't have a scholarship, was on the crew team. The crew team ended up her junior year was awarded 3 scholarships that they could go recruit people, but because of the type of person and how hard Katie worked, they gave one to her.
A full
wow athletics. Yeah, it was I'm pretty sure you'd have to ask her. So she was nuts. She'd get up and run to the pond or
she has a CrossFit gym and works for Concept
and Katie
too,
got me into CrossFit. She works for
Is CrossFit a cult or not?
Yes.
Sort of.
100%.
It is. You drink the Kool-Aid, but Katie's been through some huge adversity. I mean, from her first husband dying when they had an 18-month-old baby to, she's still, she had a job and more of the government and stuff like that, but she went back. She owns a gym. I mean, she's just a very interesting and positive person. One of my favorite people that I think you should absolutely interview.
Please.
Yeah. And so that was Meg jumped on, and I must have been friends with her, but she was on Instant Messenger. And so Meg was just saying things, that and I didn't know who it was. And then so it was Instant Messenger that reconnected us. Yeah, she had to play.
It was Katie's, right?
Yeah. So I didn't know who it was, and then I figured it out. And
I said the rest is history. Interview. There were 2 women that I said he should interview who have got just good stories to hear.
Listen, the more the listenership has gone up tremendously female wise because I had Nikki on, and then I had Brittany Hunter, a basketball player. So
I said AB.
Oh yeah, Ashley Battle, of course. Well, and Marie would know her because Meg lived with Ashley.
You had AB on?
Yeah, I just had her on yesterday on Maria's show. I haven't posted it yet. I'll post it. But yeah, she was awesome.
She's a Western PA girl from McKeesport.
She is. Yep.
McKeesport. Yeah. Her and Swin Cash. A lot of great Western PA at UConn Huskies.
Yeah, so I'll keep thinking. I mean, there's other field hockey girls. There's volleyball girls. So
as many as you can get me because I finally got above 44% for females, which is good. I didn't want it to be all men. But
have you kind of hit all the different sports? Because
not at all.
Crew would be really good.
I would like I said, I would do anyone because it's a learning experience for me. I would love to do a volleyball girl.
You should have on?
Oh boy.
Hootie.
Oh yeah. Could you get Hootie? I want.
She never really liked me. I mean, I could try.
Do you want me to
No,
message her?
that's
You can
the
message her.
impression they give everyone, though, dude.
Yeah.
If listen, I when if we get some sponsors and I can get you to be my booking assistant and you want to sponsor, you can get me people. Absolutely. Because I get messages from football players all the time,
Yeah.
but I really would love to have like soccer players. I'd love to have field hockey players on. I'd love to have volleyball players. I'd love to do Hootie. I mean, not do her, but I'd love to have her on.
He's so funny.
Softball, yeah, absolutely. The
That's
more
great.
we can do, the better. And
And Lissa
especially,
wouldn't come on.
No,
I
and
gotta give her a
that's what I was
hard
gonna say.
time.
Yeah, Lissa,
I don't know what
I
she's so
text her
nervous
every once
about.
in a while. She is so wonderful, and actually, she just posted something, pretty personal as far as how well she's doing health wise. So
Yeah.
I think when people realize it's just a conversation, there might be a camera in front of you. Like she's all
Well,
worried about
I
like
can
she's gonna
place
get
the audio.
nervous and
I
make a
nervous
weird
about
laugh.
what?
No,
We
I'm
argue all
gonna.
the time. I
We'll
don't
figure it
edit
out. I'll
anything.
go to Peabody directly. No, I don't know if she still lives in Peabody, but yeah.
No, I mean, I told her that too. I said, listen, this isn't, Fox News. I mean,
Right.
it's a podcast. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's just good banter and discussion.
you just talk like like, what do you think I'm gonna ask you? That's all I do is talk about your brother anyway.
Listen, that's what she always posts something, and so she recently, I think it was her dad's birthday or something, and I posted, I commented and just said, I didn't know you had a brother.
Yeah, well, I used to. I could talk to her about harassing her all the time because it was Luke Richmond. Luke was close with her.
Oh yeah,
and Luke told me, he's like, her brother is in the WWF. I was like, what? And then when I saw her, I'm like, your brother's Prince Albert?
Hey, listen, he's the largest human I've ever met. I remember I met him in Boston one.
Yep.
He is the largest human. I shook his hand, and he had like I don't want to call it a bracelet, but it would have fit around my neck. It was insane. I mean, yeah. But what's great is he's such a nice guy.
The nicest guy
I know
in the
he's
world.
got that image, right? Prince Albert, but just a solid dude, which makes,
well,
this is just so great. And I think, she's that type who is very humble. She's a great thrower, for the UConn women's track team.
Well, she claimed she was average and didn't do anything. And I was like,
average at the University of Connecticut. Right. I mean,
but I'll tell you a funny story quick. After years of hounding her, she took Ed and J Chuck and I, who were massive wrestling fans, to a show in Hartford.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
And then we got to meet her brother and some of the other wrestlers. They were in the hotel room hanging out. And I saw her brother's gear hanging up, drying on the thing, on the little hanger.
Yeah.
And I asked him to try it on.
Did he let you?
No. He's like, are you serious?
The fact
I'm like, yes, can I please try it on? He's like, no, you can't try it on. And she's like, listen, who is this guy? What he comes in here? He wants to try my clothes on.
Yeah.
And then his partner at the time, I was wearing a Hulk Hogan shirt, as I normally do. Most of my attire is either Hulk Hogan or something else. He saw the Hulk Hogan shirt. He goes, who's your favorite wrestler? I go, Hulk Hogan. He's like, what are you, 12? I'm like, no, I'm 19. But I still love Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was like, grow up. He's like, you need to grow up.
That's great.
Yeah. That was our story. So when did you guys end up getting married?
2004. So it'll be 20 years this November.
Wow.
Celebrating.
Yeah. When we got back together, my senior year, I want to say the first week, and we literally just started talking after not talking for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember this. He looked at me at one point and he's like, I'm going to marry you. I'm like, sure.
Oh boy.
Well, like, were you one of those girls that at 7 years old, they dream about their wedding or dream about getting pregnant, or that you weren't one of them? Okay.
No, I just knew I wanted kids, and I more wanted to be with someone who would let me be who I wanted to be. Like I had issues in relationships in the past with people who didn't
Control.
like,
Yeah.
they didn't like how competitive I was. They didn't
Yeah.
like that I'm independent and I'm going to do what I need to do to be happy. And only I knew that. And so I think, when we got together, I just remember being happy. And I just remember him. I never felt like he was intimidated by how I was, my personality, which a lot of people get. I'm overbearing. People don't like sometimes being around somebody who's always wanting to do their best.
Her dad has
your type A personality.
Yeah, her dad has a repetitive dream. They tell me that she moves back home to live with them, and it's terrifying to him. Listen, I love it. I love the challenge.
You want to
just
come
like
back
the
to
challenge of our
Shaker?
kids.
Let's go.
Yeah, I want to support her. It's a role that I saw from my dad to my mother with starting the business and things. And there is so much, and we know in sports, like I had an awesome high school quarterback who was highly regarded, and it was nice for me to kind of sit in the shadow. And so for me to just support her as much as I can, whether it's with the kids, her pursuing the CrossFit, like I'm okay. I love being a star, but I do not mind a supporting role. And I think there's seasons in life, but there's also, there's definitely things where I am definitely in charge of, and I'm okay with that. But I'm also to the point where I don't need to be in charge of much of anything anymore. My mother's strong-willed, she's strong-willed, my daughters are strong-willed. Now there's times where I have to put the foot down, if you will, but I'm a reasonable person, and I love seeing her. I know the depths of her and what gets her and keeps her going, to where there's times where it may seem odd to others. But we've said before, if we know each of us is giving 100% to the relationship, to others, it might appear that it's, Laban does a lot more, or Megan, works a lot harder. I don't really care what people's perception is within the household. And for our kids, they know the roles we have. And I think it's important. Like, I do the dishes, I do the laundry a lot. There's things that maybe are untraditional that my kids don't even think twice
roles.
about. We've kind of flipped that upside down a lot, because of the different seasons that we've been in, through life and through businesses. So,
and that was, and I had to get over that too, because I saw my dad, who was that traditional role. My mom was the traditional role of, either working part-time or not working. And it's just been something I've had to work through. I get a lot of, people judging me or setting expectations on me, people that I care about, who care about me. Sometimes, having other people tell me I've worked too much, but the opportunity that I have is only there because of the hard work I've put in. And I've had to learn how to just turn off a lot of those voices, and also be okay with at first thinking he needed to do this or that. And just us learning what we each needed to be happy.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's worth it. I think that's their happiness.
Being in a relationship is complicated. It's sacrificing. It's give and take. It's not easy. I completely understand that, and it's a learning experience. You definitely are every day. Megan, Laban had talked about some of his head injuries, and he said you have been just such an instrumental help with him, getting through that and surviving day to day with some of the problems he's had with the CTE or the TBIs or whatever.
Was it scary eyes? You remember when you took me to a therapist because I was getting scary crazy eyes. I get a little
what were the signs you were noticing, and then when did you kind of step in and get involved? And then, like today, how involved are you in helping him manage everything?
I mean, I wouldn't say I manage it at all on a daily basis. He knows how he feels, but you can see when he gets short-tempered, which is not like him.
Right.
And so you start seeing patterns, and it's either I need to get him to listen, or I go tell on him to his dad, and he'll listen to his dad.
Yeah. I listen to, for sure. His
mom too, but more your dad.
Well, my mother can be emotional, which is pretty
Right.
natural. But my father is so level-headed. I think last time we talked about, don't let circumstances dictate your character is something I always
That's
think
huge.
in my
Yes.
father's voice.
Mhm.
But and I think at the same time, he was also the one that showed how much support he provides,
Mhm.
not only for my mother, but for our whole family, the 12 grandkids. He is at every single game of sports. So I think, and you all hear, like, how does a woman's father treat her? How does she think of her father? And that's big in relationships, because we just were up in Albany celebrating her parents' 50th anniversary. My parents have celebrated 50 years. And so it's like anything else, a good mentor. An example. We've been very fortunate, and so I think it's kind of that challenge, like it is athletically. Like, we want to be better parents than both of our parents were, but we both know that's almost impossible because of how awesome they were,
Well,
right?
and it's
So,
also good that you're on the same team and
right,
you want the
have to
same
be,
things.
yeah, have
And
to be,
you present a united front for your kids,
yeah,
which I think is also huge. So 20 years of marriage, you
Mhm.
met at UConn,
Crazy, right?
successful athlete, great business. You
Trying.
really, I mean, you had a happy life. You have a very happy life.
yeah, for sure.
That's
And I think it's
that's
a lot of that
that's amazing.
compounding.
Still have
Archie.
my biggest career goals yet. So we'll see. I'm very uber focused right now on those.
Yeah, she's and it's not that she has more ambition than me, but because I think some of the challenges she went through early,
Mhm.
it really notched up that I'm going to show you mentality, where I have my whole family that supports me, and my wife's been through a couple partners that did her dirty, if you will.
Yeah.
And so thankfully she's got just a great team and great people around her. And so I'm thrilled that we're a little deeper in our season of business to where I can provide the support that she really needs to be able to do the things that she wants to pursue. And I'm all for it, obviously. And I know it's going to take a lot of hard work. So I'm okay to be that supporting role for as long as I need to, because I have outlets like the Broker Than You. So thank you,
Yeah.
Steve. And that
Yeah.
was, she's been telling me to do it for a while.
Well, you're born
So,
for it. You're a natural podcaster with
well,
the
I
mindset you
appreciate
have. With you're very philosophical and what you say. Um,
He just
I
knows
think
what he
having
knows what to
Corey
say,
on was
right?
great. He always knows what to say, and just the way his outlook on life is unlike the majority of people, and his positivity. And he's
that's,
right. I mean, he told me, I think the first time we ever talked, you wake up every morning. It's your decision whether it's going to be a good day or a bad day. You
Mhm.
can either
100%.
be happy or you can be sad. It's up to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You are in control of that.
And a lot of times accepting that is the hardest thing.
It
You
is.
become what you think about.
You are
So
100%.
yeah. And so, but this has been great, Steve. I mean,
Mhm.
we are excited to get up to Old Forge at some point here this summer, hopefully.
Pick a weekend, Megan. Pick a
That would be
weekend.
great.
Yeah,
And
we've
Pick
got
a
a
long weekend. You can come whenever you want.
yeah, he's afraid of getting off this because we have to go over some travel plans.
oh, yeah, always systematize
Are you going away
scheduling.
this weekend or something?
No, luckily no, that's the
Oh,
nice
okay.
thing. For the most part, sports are pretty low key
Oh,
right now, and they're
winding
during the
down.
week. So our weekends, now that our son doesn't play travel baseball,
Yeah, I have,
we get to
Oh, that's
enjoy the weekends.
great.
But I'm sure
but
she,
I've got travel. I'm gonna have to travel a little bit more than normal this next year or two with my newest business that we've launched,
Yeah.
and so I need him to be okay with that, and it's hard.
What is your newest business? Because that's something that we can put in the show notes and everything.
Yeah.
We put
So
Marsh Real Estate, and we can add that as well.
yeah, so we just launched a mortgage broker franchise. So it's
Oh, wow.
mhm.
Okay.
So it's called Collab Lending was our original company, and we just last week on board. We launched it in January officially, and we just brought on last week our third and fourth franchises, and have a goal
Wow.
to try to bring on 12 this year of people that we can help because our industry doesn't like his industry, real estate. You see Remax, you see Coldwell Banker, you see all
Correct.
this. It's encouraged and it's been part of the thread of their industry. Ours has not. It's been the opposite. It's for some reason it's been very male dominated, and you don't want to own your own business. You shouldn't. It's a scary thing. And so my goal is to help people open their own businesses in their local communities. And we created a roadmap on how to do it, and we're helping them.
Well, good. Then you can help me so I can
Yeah.
start a podcast.
Oh, listen.
network and
She's already got a whole list when I told her that we were starting the podcast. Remember, we started it. My first one was on her birthday while she was in Puerto Rico. And so I started using her stuff for 2 weeks. But I knew that as soon as I told her that we were going to do this, she already had, I mean, it is just her natural.
I can't believe
she can
it.
make things better. It's wild. Like, for instance, when she started in CrossFit, she came home one day and said,
I don't know why I did that.
hey, I've been working out at CrossFit. I own the gym. I'm like, I'm sorry? Yeah, I own the gym. There were some things that they really need to improve on. And so when I talked to him, he asked if I wanted to come on board. And so I own a gym.
I just like to solve problems.
And she does. She's a problem solver. But
I love your ambition. You're very ambitious.
I am. And
That's
I'm
good.
okay with that. I'm okay with that.
You
now.
should
It
be.
took me a while.
That's good. That's good. So many people, I mean, they get comfortable. And, you know,
complacency. Yeah.
You get comfortable and you get stuck in it and you never advance. You have no personal growth, you have no professional growth, and you have had both. And it's great to see that you've progressed as much as you have, both of you, over 20 years. And it's great to see that you have a family. You have a wonderful, wonderful daughter who I think is going to be something special in track. With the way she performed as a sophomore. So there's sky's the limit for you guys.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm really happy for you. Really happy for
you.
No, thank you.
And what'll be great, Steve, when you've been doing this 10, 15 years, you'll be able to re-interview some of those alumni and see how many kids may have gone through that program. Because that'd be an interesting take. Like how many of our teammates or athletes, their parents went to UConn, whether they that'd be an interesting data point to see.
Really would.
Find out how many kids. I know there's a lot of uncles and things like that, but father, son, mother, daughter, any sort of combination. I'd be really intrigued to know what UConn's history is in that regard.
Megan, do you I'm sure you do. You have a website?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Do you want we have 2 or 3, so depends on which company. So I'll send them to you, and want me to send them to you on Facebook?
Give me all 3. Yeah, we can put all 3 in the show notes, and we'll make sure that it gets listened to, and I can probably add it to the ad that I put together for us as well. So I'll try to add it on there.
No, that's awesome.
But Laban, if you get a chance, take a look and look at the ad that I created on LinkedIn. I sent it to you.
Okay.
I thought it looks good. It's 6 different pictures. It's a carousel.
Do you know how do you do in LinkedIn ads?
Yeah, I do it in LinkedIn ads. They work the best. They work the best, and they're the cheapest.
So I've never done LinkedIn ads. I would love to. We do.
Oh, it's amazing because I sent them screenshots of who we targeted. We targeted Erie County. We targeted the age groups, I think 24 to 34 and 34 to 49.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how to do LinkedIn ads. Do you do all the different types of ads?
Yep. LinkedIn. When I have the money to do it, I always use LinkedIn or Twitter works very well.
Actually,
there's riffraff on Twitter, but
you got her all fired up, bro.
I have a question for you. If we can, after you.
All right. Well, thank you both. This has been the first couples Husky Talk.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So, for Mrs. Megan Marsh, congratulations on how well you are doing and taking some time to speak with us.
Thank you.
And my amazing co-host Laban Marsh. Hopefully we get to do broker than you as well.
Yeah.
But incredible Husky Talk. I appreciate you both. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.
Love it.
All right.